and when a member of the WNBA media starts going in and giving unbiased opinions about certain players in the league, it does feel a little erroneous, considering that people go to these members of the WNBA media for unbiased statistical information. If you're wondering who I'm talking about, it is none other than Natalie Esquire.
Did an NBC reporter really just put themselves in hot water by disrespecting Caitlin Clark? On Twitter, oh, you better believe it. And let's just say, it didn't take long for instant regret to hit.
It sure as heck does not surprise me, but I gotta say, an unbiased WNBA legacy reporter is not.
We all know Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player, she's a game changer. She's shifting the landscape of women's basketball, breaking records and bringing a massive wave of attention to the WNBA. Yet despite all of this, some people just can't help themselves when it comes to downplaying her success. But this time the backlash was immediate and brutal. Fans weren't having it, and Twitter erupted. Let's break down exactly what went down and why this reporter just might be regretting their words.
As common as you might think. So according to this post that she put up on social media, Natalie Esquire says, Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. That hasn't changed because she has a down year returning from injury.
It all started with a single tweet, just one sentence from NBC reporter Natalie Esquire, and the internet absolutely lost it. At this point, it's almost becoming a pattern. Every time Caitlin Clark does something remarkable, there's a certain segment of sports media that refuses to acknowledge it. Instead, they either downplay her accomplishments or try to shift the conversation entirely, and this time it was no different.
So I am assuming that Natalie Esquire posted this because a lot of people were questioning Chelsea Gray because she was coming back from an injury that made her very slow, and it did hurt her game a lot. But when you post something like this, it makes a lot of people go in and just go into receipts, because this is quite a proof.
Natalie Esquire, who already has a history of taking shots at Clark, made a claim that Chelsea Gray was the best point guard in the WNBA. Now on the surface, that might not seem like a big deal. Gray is a great player, a proven champion, and an experienced veteran, but the way Esquire framed her tweet made it very clear this wasn't just about praising Gray, it was about dismissing Clark entirely, and fans weren't having it. What made it even worse was the timing. Esquire's tweet came after Clark had been putting up some of the best numbers in the league. The idea that Gray, who had been dealing with injuries and wasn't even playing at an elite level at that moment, was still somehow the best point guard just didn't make sense. It was clearly a forced narrative, and fans weren't about to let it slide. The backlash was immediate. Within minutes, Twitter was on fire with replies, quote, tweets, and receipts. People weren't just disagreeing, they were coming with facts. One of the most common responses was, simple, if Gray was truly the best, why didn't the numbers back it up?
Let's get into the stats. First, we'll pull up the best point guard in the WNBA objectively, Caitlin Clark. In her one professional season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark came away with an average of 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds for the season. Now, let's check out Chelsea Gray's stats. So, according to Natalie Esquire, she had an off season last season with coming back from injury, and in last season, she had averaged, what did she average? 8.
Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark in her rookie season was averaging close to 20 points per game, while also leading the league in assists. Her ability to run an offense, stretch the floor, and create plays for her teammates was unmatched. Even veteran players were struggling to guard her despite her being in just her first year.
Chelsea Gray averaged 8.6 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 4.9 assists. And again, let's give her some grace because she did come back from an injury. But let's check out the year before, and this is when the Las Vegas Aces had won the championship. She did average 15.3 points a game, not bad, right? She averaged 4 rebounds and 7.3 assists, and that's good, but it still is not better.
Meanwhile, Chelsea Gray, while still a respected player, wasn't producing at the same level. Even in her best season, she hadn't matched the numbers that Clark was already putting up, and yet according to Esquire, that didn't matter.
Caitlin is not a victim as a rookie. But then when you also elbow people and then you keep on talking all the way down the court, like, you're not a victim. So then for you to go into the post game and be like, yeah, well, I don't want to retaliate. Like, I know people are going to come for me and I just got to let it be what it is. but the people that retaliate are the ones that get in trouble.
Like Caitlyn, you're weaponizing how people view you and are talking about you when you say something like that. F around and find out. Kennedy is an isolated incident. That little shoulder bump, It was not that serious. You fell down, the first thing you did is, and you look to the damn refs to give you what? That's what happened. And you look, and that's what she always does, right? She's always falling to the floor, and then people acting like it's mad hard. It's like, pay attention to what she did in college. I would say that her coach did not do a good job preparing her for the physicality of what was to come and what to expect in the WNBA.
This is where fans really started pushing back, because it wasn't just about this one tweet, it was about the pattern. People started pulling up previous receipts showing that Esquire had been downplaying Clark's impact for months. This wasn't just a one-time bad take, this was consistent bias. One of the most damning receipts, a tweet where Esquire accused Clark of stat padding when she was chasing an assist record. Think about that for a second. A point guard trying to break an assist record was accused of padding stats, since Y is setting up teammates and distributing the ball considered a selfish move. That take alone showed that Esquire's issue wasn't about objectivity, it was about personal bias. And once the internet gets hold of something like that, it's over. The ratio on her tweet started to spiral out of control. People weren't just replying, they were roasting her. Some even questioned if she actually watched the games, considering how obvious it was that Clark was outplaying every other point guard in the league. Instead of backing down, Esquire doubled down, which, as we all know, is never a good idea when the facts aren't on your side. She started arguing with fans, replying to tweets, and making herself look even worse. One of the most bizarre moments came with when she responded to someone calling her out by saying, "I am the media." Oh boy, that was not the flex she thought it was. At that moment, Esquire exposed herself in a way that couldn't be undone. It wasn't about facts, it wasn't about stats, it wasn't even about basketball, it was about ego. She wasn't trying to have a real conversation, she was just trying to prove that she was right even when all the evidence said otherwise. And Twitter ate it up. Memes started pouring in, screenshots of her past tweets were being reposted. People even made compilation threads of all the time she had tried and failed to discredit Clark. It got so bad that some of her own followers started calling her out. That's when you know you've lost. Even neutral WNBA fans, people who weren't necessarily Clark supporters, started chiming in, because at the end of the day, it wasn't just about Clark, it was about integrity in sports journalism. If you're going to call yourself a professional reporter, you have a responsibility to be fair and objective. But Esquire had proven time and time again that she wasn't interested in that. She was pushing an agenda, and everyone could see it. At this point, the situation had spiraled so far out of control that Esquire started deleting tweets. That's when instant regret really hit, because when you start erasing your words, it's clear that you know you messed up, but by then it was too late. The internet never forgets. Screenshots were everywhere, threads had already been created. The damage to her credibility was permanent. And Caitlin Clark, she was too busy dominating on the court to even acknowledge the drama. That's what made this whole situation even funnier. While Esquire was arguing on Twitter, Clark was out there putting up numbers, proving with her play that she didn't need to respond to critics. This is why the media bias against Clark is so bizarre. She's literally everything the WNBA should want in a star. She's skilled, she's marketable, she's bringing millions of new eyes to the league, and yet there's still a segment of people who refuse to give her the credit she deserves. But at this point, it doesn't even matter, because Clark doesn't need their approval. She's letting her game do the talking. And as for Esquire, well, let's just say she might want to think twice before logging back onto Twitter, because the internet is not going to let this one go anytime soon. At this point, the damage was done. Natalie Esquire had officially walked herself into one of the biggest self-inflicted L's of the year, and it wasn't just Caitlin Clark fans who were roasting her anymore, it was the entire basketball community. See, the thing about Twitter is that once you get caught in a bad take, you have two choices. You can either own up to it, take the loss, and move on, or you can double down and make things 10 times worse for yourself. Guess which route Esquire took? Yep, she doubled down. Instead of admitting that maybe, just maybe, she had overlooked Clark's dominance and let personal bias cloud her judgment, she decided to keep arguing. She kept firing off tweets, responding to people in full-on offensive mode. And honestly, it was painful to watch. One person even called her out directly, saying, "You're the same person who tried to say Caitlin Clark was stat padding when she was breaking assist records. Are you ever going to admit that you just don't like her?"